Hey, folks, whoever's out there listening, we are just a couple of minutes. Well, we're about a minute away from going live on the radio station. So, everybody, stand by. This is just the pre show for about a minute. And not even that. We've got about 30 seconds and we go live. So,
what can you do in 30 seconds?
All depends. 30 seconds is 30 seconds.
Exactly.
We got 15 seconds. Let's you and I go dark, and then we'll come in with our musica. Well, good afternoon, good evening, and happy Tuesday, everybody tuning in. I'm Scotty Roberts, and this is my partner in crime, my radio wife, Wendy Robertson. How you doing, Wendy?
Hello, darling. I'm doing not too bad. Yourself?
I'm not too bad myself.
You look absolutely amazing. May I just say that?
Well, I got the memo that you were wearing red, so I wore red.
You look amazing. You look so amazing. I love the handkerchief and everything. You look amazing.
Why, thank you, ma'am. I've got my pocket square. I've got my brooch on. They don't really call them a brooch for men, do they? That's my
lapel something, isn't
my
it?
lapel pin.
Yeah.
That is my bark shrine from Egypt. Friend of mine made these for us. So it's the bark shrine. And so I wear that on all my suits. And so here we are. Welcome, everybody, to the show. We appreciate you giving us your time and showing up. That means a lot to us. And I thought I saw a field guy for a second there. I'm sorry. Some days I just have to.
Sometimes you just need them, don't you?
Sometimes you just need them. And so welcome to everybody that's there. Barbie D, Viking Off-Roading. Kat is here. Chief from Eldian, Sandra Sanders. That one mixes me up. Sandra, you got to know. Sandra Saunders or Sandra Sanders?
Sandra
Saunders.
Sandra Saunders.
There it is. It's the aw sound on both names. So she came in and she was gone. So anyway, welcome to everybody who made it in today so far. Rameldian, good to see you. And so how has your week been, darling?
It's been okay. As you know, today I was at the dentist again and osteopath.
Yes.
So I'm struggling. And but hopefully any day now they'll get to the bottom of it.
If there's anything I hate more than dental pain, it's dentists, even though they're the ones that are supposed to take it away. So there we are. So today we've got a little bit of a topic that could be, by some at first blush, it might seem, they think they know where we're going with this. And when I talk about indecent proposals, and we kind of loosely base that on the old movie, but that title, but it's not so much about the topic of that movie. And but it has to do with more things that are a little more close to home for a lot of us. Some of us have experienced it. Some of us have crossed those lines. Some of us have infracted it.
Yeah.
Others have dealt with it very well. And so this is a topic that, and I'm going to ask you for a second here, Wendy, if you want to jump in at any point, because I'm not hitting it the way you want me to hit it. You know what I mean? And see, entendre. Entendre is
Absolutely.
something that is a daily part of life.
Yep.
So, and if you're a guy, entendre comes a lot easier. Why do you think older guys like me are called dirty old men? Because we tend to lapse into our entendre and locker room talk quicker than women do. And if guys aren't careful, they don't know how to shut that off. And sometimes they may cross lines that ought not be crossed. Or, you know what a guy is like, Wendy, when we see a woman and we go, wow, I'm attracted to that woman. And that woman just turns and smiles at you. Gal goes, she wants me. So that kind of, for a lot of guys, that opens up the door that we can act any way we want to act. And some guys are timid enough, though, on the other side of that coin, that they will leap into bravado to try to overcompensate. And so I think, do you want to really hit on what the crux of this show is about, starting gate, or do we want to build up to that?
It's a great title, Indecent Proposal. Very, very great, because it covers a lot of topics. For me, it was something you and I chatted about a couple of times, and we thought that now was the time to bring it to air. And I think a lot of ladies and even gentlemen will understand where we're coming from.
Sure.
Since I've been doing Robertson, I've inherited quite a lot of new friends on Facebook.
Yes.
And I am over the moon with them. It's very nice to be included and part of something. But there have been occasions in the last couple of months that we've been doing this that I've had not so nice messages. In fact, I would actually say some of them have been very disrespectful. It brought up a lot of emotions in me, because I talk to a lot of ladies and they get it through dating apps or messaging or talking to guys who then send them messages. And also, I think it can also be put under the umbrella of how we talk to people and what we say, because there's a limit, there's a line that you have to be careful that you don't cross. And it's not about political correctness. It's not about that. It's about the fact that I don't think there's a button that people press sometimes to stop. And I have had a couple of messages, which I think I shared with you. And I was like, I'm really surprised by that. I was very disappointed in it.
Yeah.
And I've had some comments from gentlemen where I've been very disappointed in the comments.
And I think, I dare say you probably use that term gentleman to be polite.
I am.
Because from what I've heard of things that were said, they were not gentlemanly at all.
No.
So,
and I feel like it's, and I'm not here to name names or anything like that, but it's right. I do believe that this is a very important topic, because in the last couple of years, being on a dating site, using any kind of social media, I think there's very much a narrative of how we talk to each other, and certainly in a very crude, lewd, and downright disrespectful way. And I think that this was a topic that you and I felt that we needed to broach, because you and I are both chatty. We've known each other 20 years. We can flirt for England. We can chat for America. We get on incredibly well, and we have a very good rapport. But it's all very safe, and it's all very easygoing, because we've known each other for such a long time, and we're protected by that friendship, and that's where it stays. But if you don't know someone that well, or even if you do know someone,
or if you don't know them at all,
exactly, and they feel that they can talk to you that way, then it's like, where do you get off speaking to women like that you don't even know? I mean, isn't that a bit of disrespectful? Because she could be someone's wife, someone's girlfriend, someone's partner.
Someone's radio wife.
Exactly. And also on top of that, what happened to gentlemanly? What happened to being a gentleman? Because some men pride themselves. I'm a gentleman. Really? Do you act like one? Are you acting like a gentleman? Because I think along the way we've lost a lot of, don't get me wrong, through social media and stuff like that, we've done a lot better in communicating across the pond and across the world. But I think we've lost something along the way. I think that it's very easy to hide behind a keypad or a keyboard or whatever and say what the hell you want without having consequences for it. And I'm sorry, but there are consequences. I have had even people I know as friends say things to me, and it's like, if anybody knows me really, really well, and you do, you know that I will joke about anything, but there's a line that you don't cross.
Right. There's a line you're not supposed to cross. I have always been the kind of guy that says there are certain lines I could cross if I didn't put myself in check.
Yeah.
If I did not watch my tone, if I did not watch the words that came out of my mouth. Yeah. And there's certain lines I've never crossed unless invited across that line. Hey, come across this line now.
And if you invite someone to come across the line, fair play. What do people do between themselves? And if they're both consenting to it, whether it's conversation or whatever, that's okay if they both consent to it. But when you're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, TikTok, how many others can I think of? Listen.
The list keeps going.
It just, it seems that people can just go and they speak to you so badly sometimes. And you're like, and trolls are another one, like trolls.
Yes.
And sometimes it comes from, may I say, gentlemen who I thought would know better.
Yes. And that's now here's the thing about you, Wendy. I'm going to tell you while I'm telling the audience. You already know these things about yourself. And we've talked about this a lot. Yeah. But you are somebody who you can be very forward.
Yes.
You're very happy to be that way. You are somebody that has no problem dressing nice, showing a little cleavage in your pictures, looking sexy in a picture, and so on. Now, the big question, you are not one of those like Instagram boob queens out there that likes to go out and I'm a guy. I like boobs as much as the next guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm no prude. But the ones that are out there just flashing it, and it's the next best thing to naked and actually having sex, some of them, on camera. And you're like, oh, my God, that's cool, but that's a little extreme. Now, that's something I've never seen you do.
No.
You will put on a good display. You look good, and it's like, if you look good, it's like I've said to Rainey, and Rainey said to me, she said, hey, some of the pictures I post of Rainey on my Instagram and places like that, people are like, oh, it's your wife. You're going to get in trouble with your wife. I said, no, she's okay with it. Yeah. She's like, I'm 43 years old, and I'm not going to be this way for very much longer. And she feels that.
Absolutely.
And so she likes doing that. She's not doing it necessarily to draw male attention. And so what I'm saying about you is when I look at you, I know that you have your reasons for how you put pictures up and things like that. It's all part of there's a little bit of a game to it. It's all part of life. It's all part of being, this is who I am. And I enjoy who I am. I'm confident in myself.
I think it's very much a social media persona, because those that really know me underneath all that. They know the Wendy that I really am. Like, I know the Scotty, you're very professional. You come across, so polished and everything, but underneath that is a very, very different guy at times. And I think that I have no problem. I control what I put on my page. I control who sees it.
Yes.
And I don't put anything out there that, is anything I think is
inviting somebody to have verbal sex with you.
But
online.
I don't think a woman should, or a gentleman should be based on the way they look and judged on it, because that's almost like you're reeling yourself back in. Like, I'm not going,
Right.
I'm not revealing everything. I don't have an OnlyFans page. Not that there's anything wrong with it, because there's a place for things like that.
There's a place
Absolutely.
for it.
But I think it comes to a point when you're like, I can have a laugh and joke, and I'm not backwards about coming forwards, and I can do all the innuendos. Look, I'm British. We do that, right?
Mhm.
But I'm talking about when you talk to a woman disrespectfully, and you think like, well, she deserves it or he deserves it because they looked this way, they act that way. That is when you have to say, we have to reel that in, because what happens if you don't reel it in? How far does it go? Because I'm just always seeing some of the ladies writing down here. Sandra's written that
I've
she
got
had
to look at some of these,
Twitter.
some of the comments.
Anita said she stopped Skype. There is, quite, and I think women probably get it a little bit more than guys do.
Oh, I'm sure a lot more than guys do.
Absolutely. And it's almost like, also, what about if they're married, the guys that are sending these messages? They have a wife.
Yeah.
Would they like someone to talk to their daughter? There's Mark. Hi, Mark.
Mark English. Good to see you, brother. Nice to have you in here.
They like someone, they like someone to talk into their husbands, their wives, or their daughters that way. And I think that's always, Mark and I, and you and I, we also have a very easygoing, flirtatious way, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a limit. Very respectful. You don't go over it. And I think that some people do, and people like TikTok, social media, it can get a bit like, can you just like? And the other thing is the dick pics. Let's talk about that later.
Yeah.
Shall we? The dick pics.
You got rid of mine, right?
I'm quite lucky. I've not had any for many years on that. But before I come on this show, I talk to a couple of ladies, and I always say to them, like, what are your take on it? And they said to me, Wendy, it's the dick pics. What makes a guy think that we want to see their dick, right?
Yeah.
Did we ask for it? Did we ask for it? Oh, I really need to see it. Send me it. And some women do, and if they want to take it, absolutely fine. But if you haven't asked for it and someone sends it to you, it's like, delete, block.
Now, see, I think you're also talking about what you could hoity-toity say is a physiological difference between men and women, or male English and female English, because a woman isn't always impressed by a guy sending her his dick pic. Probably few and far between, uninvited.
Yes.
But if there's a guy out there, most guys I know will be like, oh my God, remember that woman in the chat room? Yeah, she sent me a picture of her boobs. And now boobs are a little more benign than penises, granted. But it's all the little no taboo stuff. And so I think guys are kind of like, oh, I'd love to have a woman just send me naked pictures of herself. Yeah, keep them coming.
Yeah.
But that's because guys have the same propensity to be able to talk to women that they don't know very well, even when they're married or involved or whatever, or don't know squat about what the other woman is all about, that they're very comfortable for some reason being able to talk sexually to them. Or not just sexually. Well, if you send somebody a dick pic, and you have no words to it other than, hey, get a load of this. Hello. What's that supposed to imply? What's it supposed to mean? And in general, I think guys have a much, unless they're, no, I'm not even going to put the unless in there. Guys have a much more open, let's paint it in a non-negative light to begin with, a much more open way of wanting to express themselves to a woman they find attractive. Even if they're not thinking, wow, I would love to marry this woman, have kids with her. I'd love to watch her squeeze out babies. I'd love to buy a house with her and hold hands for the next 42 plus years, going to see things and taking walks. That's not what's on their mind. When they see a woman that's good looking, they think immediately sexual. That's why they go for the dick pic right away. But those same guys are also guys who obviously weren't taught, or at least it did not take hold. So I guess that's not being taught, instructed or taught in the finer art of how to talk to the opposite sex.
How can I put this? Mature gentlemen who should know better,
right,
and are married, send those things. They send those comments. They send that stuff, and it's like, what? Because I'm single, you think you can send it to me? Because I'm the single one of the group? Because you think I'm single? I mean, I don't really talk about my private life very much. Everybody thinks I'm with Mark, right? And Mark and I have chosen.
I thought you were with Mark for a while.
Mark and I choose to keep it, as in, because people never know what goes on between Mark and I, and that's the way it's always been for years.
And maybe Mark wants you to be with Mark. Sorry, Mark, I'm not matchmaking here. I'm just throwing it out there.
But it's like, where does it get? Because you're single, and would it make it worse if I did have a partner? Because I think where's the respect? Because I don't message anyone who's married and say to them, I don't come on to them. I just don't. And because
imagine yourself using the kind of language that you have messages sent that contained in the kinds of messages you get from people that you barely know, or people who are on the fringe of our communities. And those people say things. Can you even imagine yourself using that kind of language to somebody you don't know very well?
It got to a point where you think, and it wasn't some of the messages, it's not just involving me, it's other people as well. And so I actually think that the reason why I wanted to talk about this tonight is to actually get the information out there that it's okay to have a laugh and a joke and a flirt and an innuendo. But when you cross that line and you become too brassic, too in your face, too graphic, then it's like, where's the respect? You've crossed that line.
Right.
You've crossed that line. And I remember being on a dating app, and I just met a really nice person, was chatting away all day to him. And then out of the blue, out of nowhere, came the conversation of, well, it's been a lovely day talking to you. I think I'm going to get out my toy now and play with him and think of you while I do it. And I'm like, what?
Wait a minute. I am curious for a second.
Yeah.
What toys do guys use?
I think he was talking about his manhood, honey.
Oh. That went right over my head.
And I literally just...
And I got one.
I literally lost I went crazy on him, and I was like, what the hell? How dare you speak to me like that? We only just started to be... We'd had no conversation like that in any shape or form. None of that at all. And it just came from nowhere.
Out of the blue.
Actually, it shocked the hell out of me.
And part of what we wanted to explore tonight was asking the question is, why do you guys feel comfortable doing that? Yeah. Now, I will say this too. I can joke around with you. I can joke around with you in private. I joke around with you in public. Our private joking is different than public joking. Yeah. In public, we joke around. I can get with the guys and the boys, and we all joke around. But something I never, ever would do is put you or any other woman in a position where they feel uncomfortable with what I'm saying. And somebody said here, was it Roger Rabbit in the chat room? He said, it's kind of what unsolicited. No, it wasn't him that said it then.
I think it was Roger. He came, unsolicited pics are the worst.
Not so much that. Somebody said something else. Maybe you said it.
What was that?
About the more you throw out there, the more you can reel in, type of thing. And so I think that What I don't like is that guys in a public setting, especially, even in a private setting where there's a bunch of y'all talking, that guys will say, if the woman can hold up to us with our locker room banter, and many guys that do this are married guys who in public social media, they say they love their wives and they do all of this. But those are the guys that will, it's like the more line you give them, the more they run with it, and it's like, and it doesn't necessarily mean that that woman wants to have some kind of lurid sexual conversation with you in private. I mean, she's holding up to you. She's joking with you. I know women, you being one of them, Wendy, that has that ability to hold your own. And that does not mean you're not pissed by something. It doesn't mean you're happy about something. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means you can hold your own no matter what the situation is.
I think having an older brother, being around a lot of his friends, I think that I have, I've got good male friends as well. And it's very a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them is a safe boundary. Yeah. But it's what frustrates me is I can hold my own. And I am not I used to be a very, very different woman. I used to be very shy, very vulnerable, etc., right? But it's like some of these people that are making comments to me and other women, it's very disrespectful to the partners they have in their life. Because while they're saying it to me, how would they feel if someone was saying it to their wives or their girlfriends?
Right.
And I think it's very disrespectful, like behind their partners' backs, they're saying it to other women. And I'm not asking for it. Like, are you saying because there's a photograph of me which shows a bit of cleavage, I ask for it? Because that's like saying a woman who wears a miniskirt asked to be raped. And right. I find that absolutely, it doesn't go there. So, and what happened to men, gentlemen, being protective of women?
Yeah.
What happened to that old school? So even the Southern gentlemen from America and in England, like the gentlemen of the day, what happened to being protective of women and keeping them safe rather than, it's like, is it okay to just say all these comments to them? I mean, as I said, have a joke. You can even have an innuendo. You can have a laugh. But if you don't know the woman that well, if you don't know her at all, if you're married or you have a partner of some kind, or she has a partner, the list is endless. Don't say it, because not only that, it could actually go down a road that you may not want it to go down.
Right. What if the woman responded to you in kind? What if the, like I said, I've got to repeat this. I'm no prude. I can joke with the best of them.
Absolutely.
I can hold my own and locker room talk with the best of them. Yeah. I can do my public and private innuendo and joking around with you. But that doesn't mean I don't have standards that I abide by and I live by. One is in general, I try never to offend anybody. And so I watch the kinds of things I say to people. I have to know somebody really well to joke with them really deeply. It would be like meeting somebody for the first time and joking with them about making a joke out of the job they lost or something so you could fit into the conversation, or something like that. There's just certain areas you don't go when you don't know somebody well. Then when you do know them well, there's always the talk of, you see Uncle Dave and I, when we talk, we're constantly ripping on each other. But that ripping on each other, it's like the line from the old, it's old now, I guess, from the movie Stand By Me, when they're talking about as kids. He says, when we were kids, he says, the best way to show your love and respect for your best friend was to see how deeply you could insult their mother. Not to their face, of course.
Yeah,
it was just joking around. And so that's the first rule is I try to always respect the other person. Mm-hmm. If I've got an open door with somebody I know that I can joke with, I do that. But there are certain times I found myself in situations where I'm in that kind of setting and I'm very uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable for the person, and I will either try to change the topic quickly enough. And it's not that I'm afraid of confrontation. I'm not, you know me. Confrontation is the last thing I'm afraid of. Standing up for what I believe in is the last thing I'm afraid to do.
Yep.
But there are times where you go, okay, I got to handle this one delicately, and so we're gonna try to back this out and change the course or whatever it might be. And so those things go on because it's like and the group mentality has something to do with it too. When you get not just a single guy, a single solitary
They're like a
person,
pack
but
of wolves.
several.
You get a lot of guys together, and they're
Yeah.
like a pack of wolves, and it's you can smell the testosterone going, and they want
Oh,
to
yeah.
bring you down, your prey. But I mean, the reason why we were talking about today, I have young nieces, you have young daughters,
Yes.
and it's like I don't really want to see, which unfortunately they will do in their lifetime, my nieces having said messages and stuff sent to them without thinking,
Sure.
hang on a minute, where do I, what did I do to deserve this? If I wanted to have those kind of messages, I would be sending them to people.
Right.
And I would be
Right.
saying, let's do this, because at the end of the day, as I said, I joke and laugh with Mark. I joke and laugh with you. I joke and laugh with a lot of people. But if you really know me really well, there is a line that I don't cross. And if you cross that line, then I take a step back. But I also think there's the women that I have spoken to about this, they've said to me that they feel sometimes quite intimidated. They can feel quite threatened by it. And they've said to me that they wanted to say, like, what does it make a guy feel when he sends a woman that kind of message? They want to know what is he feeling?
And not just what he's feeling, what's his goal? What's he attempting to gain?
Because they don't understand. They've not done anything to ask for it. So why are you sending it to me? Like, what made them do it? And I think sometimes it's a power thing. Sometimes it's a thing they're unhappy at home and they're not getting what they want, perhaps.
Roger Rabbit just suggested their insecurities. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they look for it elsewhere. And that's fine. But I actually, a gentleman is very attractive. They're a dying breed these days. They really, really are. But it's very, very attractive. If you have a guy, and also the things they will use to describe women, and I've had this in my life, where they describe words about women. I mean, KB and I talked about it on his show where he talks about the word titties, right? I actually can't stand that. I think it's very degrading to women to use that. And certainly in Britain, we don't particularly like that word. It's not a word that we use. I know you guys use it more in America, but absolutely in Britain, it would be like.
Well, I've used that word, but it's not my favorite word.
No.
I got to tell you, there are certain words I can talk about boobs till I run out of breath.
And here's
but titties is a word I don't use.
Finding it sexy. It's not sexy. Yeah. I mean, pretty much. I would say 90% of women. There might be some that do. 90% of women are going, yeah, that really made me feel sexy. That really.
I'll bet.
Like, yeah, it's like, and yet if a guy comes up and actually says something more like, you look amazing, I can't wait to get close to you, or whatever like that, you're going to be like, I know what his intention is, but he didn't go there. He didn't go there. But I think that's the difference. And that's what KB and I were saying the other day on that show, was that there's a difference between what you say. And I always say it's not, it's sometimes it's how you say it as well. And different cultures, different lands. In Britain, and we talk about bridging the pond, about both our cultures, in Britain, that word would not be used easily.
Yeah.
It's very much pornographic. It's more like the porn way. And I just think you have to be careful with some things. I mean, as I said, I'm old enough, ugly enough, broad enough shoulders, can take it. But there's a line. If you cross with me, then that's it.
Right. And, and that's one thing too. I have to watch myself sometimes because I'm a guy. It's easy. When I'm with a bunch of guys, we can joke around till the sky's the limit, joking around. When a woman enters that conversation, that joking around needs to be tempered back. If you're a gentleman, because there are certain things. How do I say this? Because there are times where I feel I look for the great bolt of lightning to come down out of the sky and strike me into a pile of ash. Because, like I say, I'm just as good at innuendo and sexual teasing
Absolutely.
and sex comedy as anybody else. I could do a stand-up routine and never leave the topic of sex. So there is that aspect of it, but then there's that aspect that says, um, I do not want to let this woman feel somehow used or dirty or abused by my words. And abuse, we use that word too lightly these days, but what I mean by that is feeling like for you, for instance, Wendy, you can hold your own. Does that ever mean you don't walk away from something like that and go,
Yeah, I have.
what the hell was that?
Yeah,
I
you
don't want
have.
to do that again today.
I mean, I want to just pick
So,
up the point that Grumpy's stacks written about Brits use the C word a lot. Predominantly, a lot of men use the C word in Britain, but they normally do it to describe when they're having an argument about someone, or he's a see you next Tuesday, or,
right.
It was a see you next Tuesday of the day. Very rarely is it used to describe an anatomy over here. Right? I don't know if it's in America, but over here it's very unusual to use that word as an anatomy.
I wish Heather White was here from Scotland. Over in Scotland, that word, the C word, is a word that's used like, oh, you doss cunt, come on over and have a beer, or a pint. And, it's not used as a derogatory.
That's a really good point, Valerie, that she's written.
Yes.
Insecurity is really shown when men try to impress us with their big truck instead. And that's another thing. We don't need to know how big your dick is. We really don't need to know, right?
You're
because
not talking to me, right?
We've got a vivid imagination, right? We know how to use it. So we don't need to know that it's this big, that long, got bells on it and pretty colors, right? We don't need to know because it really doesn't matter to us. And then what if you did big it up? And then when we get to the actual moment and we go, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What if you get the payoff on all your innuendos?
Why do you guys?
And all of a sudden she goes,
women, like, it's like me going to, I don't know. I could say something else like, I can't deny mine because it's more out on show, right?
Oh, right.
So guys can hide it easily, but with women, I can't say, well, actually,
You told me you drove a '67 Impala. You're actually driving a smart car.
And that's and I brought this up today on KB's show, and I will say it again. You get pretty tired of the comments of, oh, is that your car?
Yeah.
Driving that. Is that really your car? Do you drive it? No, it's my dad's. And it's like, what is it that people don't think that a woman can have a car like that? And it's the same as other women out there. There are so many other women that say to me that they still feel that in 2023, we're not getting the kind of, not the word, I didn't want to use the respect, but it's almost like it just carries on. It doesn't change. It's like we're still spoken to, like we're part of anatomy, and I just find it that, when I spoke to ladies about it, and I've asked a lot of women, the last friends of mine, and they're like, you know what, Wendy, I think they just think they can get away with it because not enough people will say no.
That's what I really want to understand, because I look at it myself and I say, do I really understand that? Why I do that? And I have to stop myself sometimes. Yeah. Now, I don't think I'm an overtly offensive person. I don't think I go out of my way to offend a woman, but I'm sure I have. And, I had a woman call me a creep once when I was 28 because of something I said. And it wasn't even sexual. I just said, I asked her out and she said, well, I thought you were dating so-and-so. I said, well, I'm not. And, well, you said you liked her. I said, I do, but I said, she doesn't have a ring on and I'm not dating her. And she goes, wow, that's a creepy thing to say. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't know that. And I had no confidence when I was in my mid-20s anyway. But so I didn't know how to answer that. But when a guy looks at himself and says, stop the next time you do that, and think in your head, why have I done that? Why have I come across to that woman that way? Is it because I think by saying to you, Wendy, if I said to you something sexual and showed you my dick pic, is that because I think she's going to really want me now? I mean, and 9 times out of 10, women don't.
Actually,
That doesn't do that for women.
It puts me off. It's not, for me, it's all about, I'd rather have the imagination. It's more sexy than being told what it is or what you want to do to me. And I still wonder, like, you know, what two people do in their house and their bedroom and their relationship is down to them. And if they both agree to it, great. I won't put it out on my public social media. I don't expect them to put it out on their public social media. But at the end of the day, there are some people that, and what I hate even more are the ones that send it in private messaging, because they're too much of a coward to come out and say it in person or online. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'll just send it to you in a message because it's sneaky that way.
Right.
Not actually. It's actually kind of sad.
And by the way, Paige Rockwell Soiree over there in the chat room, we're not saying we're not talking about flirting. Flirting's part of daily life.
Yeah.
I can flirt with here's a flirt for you right now. I've had 3 people ask me in the chat room why I'm looking so dapper. Like, what do I look like, a cow other days or what? But since I'm dressed up, you know why I did this? I did it for Wendy. Because I'm doing a show with Wendy and I love and respect Wendy. And we were talking about a little more delicate topic. And she said she was wearing red. So I said, I'll wear red too. There it is right there. And so, no, I want to give the topic. I was trying to lend the topic a little more class.
But you shouldn't have to justify why you're looking like that. No one should have to justify, because at the end of the day, if you want to look good, then you will. And Valerie's putting, you know, that she's got to stop sending pics. It's a joke. If you're with someone and you're dating them,
don't stop, Val.
And you want to send photographs of yourself to them, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. But I'm not sure. I mean, how would you feel if you're married and some woman, she's a good-looking woman, and she starts sending you pictures of herself, telling you absolutely what she wants to do with you? How would you deal with that?
Are you asking me? You're putting me on the spot with that question?
I am.
First of all, I'm a guy.
We're not going about coming forwards on here.
Yes. I am not coming out of the closet. No, if first of all, I'm a guy. The first thing I do when I see boob pictures is go, whew, nice. And because I like boobs, I like naked women. It's just part of who I am. And I'm saying naked women. I'm not saying I like necessarily, you know, women doing lewd things in pictures, but I like it. So my first reaction is going to be, I like that. Most times I've shown them to my wife. Hey, so-and-so, you know, so-and-so who I talked to? Look what she sent me. Oh, she goes, nice. Did you send any back? I said, not yet. And she said, maybe you shouldn't. I said, okay, I'll take up your suggestion. So I'm not offended by that so much. Because of the way I'm wired. I'm wired differently than a woman. Thank goodness. But I think if it was something that, if I got something like that out of the blue from somebody, and I said, wow, that's awfully nice. Thank you. I'm a married guy. Don't send me those anymore. Or whatever my reasoning might be.
Yeah.
And they kept doing it, then I'd have a problem with it. Not because I don't like boobs, but because I don't like somebody disrespecting what I've asked them to do. And so I think that's how I'd feel. And it would be, you know, like, I don't know, think of a very typical guy thing and me ask you that question. How would you feel as a woman if you got that? You're going to react differently because you're wired differently physiologically. It's going to mean something different to you. It's going to have a different effect. Women, what do they say? I saw some meme and I thought it was meant to be cute. Guy's wife standing in the kitchen. She was pretty. She's cooking. And he says, you know what a woman wants? A woman wants to be loved. A woman wants to be touched. A woman wants to be complimented. A woman wants, and he's using cliche things, but he says, a woman wants flowers, maybe chocolates sometimes. A woman wants to have you hold her hand. A woman wants to know you're there, which, by the way, is sometimes why women ask you to do things during the game. They want to make sure you're still there, and they got you. And he goes through this whole list of beautiful things. Then he says, what do guys want? He says, we want food and sex. And then we're okay. And that's just a somewhat comical, but almost realistic view of the physiological differences between men and women. It's like I've said, I've always said women are streams and men are puddles. Men, we compartmentalize, and these are generalities, but it's a generality that I think is very strong unless you start wanting to water it down by the politics of the day.
But do you know how rare it is, Scotty, to actually meet a gentleman? Do you know how rare it is to meet a gentleman in life? Like a gentleman who talks to you well, looks after you, and I'm not talking about financially or anything like that, but just like, is very protective of you. It's very, very rare. Like, don't get me wrong. I've said right from the start, like, I have no problem with having a laugh and innuendos and holding my own. But there's a line that lately, and a few other ladies I've spoken to as well, people have crossed. And it's like, these people need to realize that it's not okay to send those kind of messages. It's not okay to say those kind of things to women. Not all women are the same. Not all guys are the same. And that's certainly on dating apps. I mean, I remember in the old days, long before the new dating apps, when you swiped everything. Right. This is going back many years. You used to have a messenger that would pop up. And I remember hearing horror stories from ladies that saying, this window would pop up and the guy he'd be busy. Let's say that he'd be busy. Right. And you're like, I'm sure if you're in the, KB would have known in the police and everything like that, he'd have had more than his share of hearing some horror stories about how women, and sexual stuff can go down, right? And It's the same as me. I worked for victim support. I worked with victims of crime, and it's not always straightforward. And stalking is another form of social media. It is being inappropriate. No matter how many times you've told them, no, thank you very much, but no, go away, they continue to stalk you, and it's very unnerving.
It is. And now I don't get stalked. Nobody really stalks me. The kind of stalkers I would get, if you could call them that at all, are people who politically are opposed to what I believe, and every time I put up a post, they want to try to take me to task. Is that stalking? Nah, because I don't care. If a woman was to continually send me her pictures unsolicited by me, and continue to send them when I ask them not to, then it becomes kind of that stalking thing. But personally, because I'm a guy, I think, because of the difference between you and I, it doesn't offend me as much. I mean, guys are like, sometimes we're like, man, I wish more women would send me their version of dick pics because I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to have more of that in my life.
Well, darling, there's a few that will send them out there, don't you? They're quite,
there are.
When you first get one and you think they're sending a photograph of perhaps themselves or something, and you open it up and you're kind of like, yeah, now I'm not going to sleep tonight. But it's not just that. It's like, sometimes it's like, my young niece, is using her as an example. She's a very beautiful girl. And she's still and the kids these days, they look so much older than they do, right? They, than our days, they really do. And they probably know a lot more than what we did. But it's like some of the stuff she's had on social media has been quite worrying,
Yeah.
And it's like,
by the way, let me just say, I love your attitude, Kat. But yeah, and there's I've got an 11-year-old daughter now.
Mm-hmm.
That when my older kids, my twins were 11, which was 20 years ago, all of this stuff was in its infancy. There were ways to get in trouble and ways to be stalked, but it was a little different. Now my kids they're a heartbeat away from all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've got the 11-year-old, just dying to be sexy and older, and she dresses for it, does the hair and the makeup and the clothes, and it's like, no, you can't wear that to school. You're 11. Why not? Well, we'll talk about it when you're 20.
And the difference is, a woman of my age, I can, if I want to dress like that, I can, because I can deal with that. But the younger ladies that are coming up behind us, they may not have that experience behind us. They may not have that harder attitude. They may not. And they should be protected. And that's why I'm saying, when do guys stop being gentlemen and want to protect their ladies? When does that change? Have we lost something along the way? I absolutely can. And Val comes up with a good point when she says there are women you need to be more careful, especially if someone lives alone. And I can absolutely say that's true, because social media, you can find out where people live these days, what area they're in.
Yep.
Everything is so open. So I think that you have got to be careful. Like I said, if you're on my Facebook page, and I go through my Facebook page a lot, and I cull a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I take them off, because they come on for a while, and I'll be like, okay, you seem okay. If they cross the line, that's it, they're off, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what everybody should do, because we've all got the ones on our page where it's like, but women, absolutely right. Women are stalkers too. I do know quite a lot of ladies that have stalked men. And
said, exactly what Anita Palmer's just saying.
Absolutely. But not only that, it's about women are also nasty about women on social media as well. Absolutely. Women are very nasty about each other. They're not supporting each other. They're not, sometimes they're ripping each other apart. And it's like, is that what we're supposed to do? So it is about how we talk to each other.
Yes.
Indecently. Or on social media, we should be backing each other up, but I'm sure, unfairly, that doesn't happen. Not all the time.
Yeah. And, I think one of the things to come out of this show too is to say to guys, maybe start nurturing in yourself. That's such a motherly word. I'm not going to use that. Guys, maybe start cultivating in your own self this ability to be protective of the people, the women you respect. Nowadays, guys aren't supposed to say, I'm here, I protect women. And that's such a bad thing nowadays in general. But I think you would find that there are a lot of women out there, probably the vast majority of women, that would love to hear guys say that. I'm going to be protective of the women I know. And my relationship with Wendy is different than my relationship with Wendy in public. So in public, I would defend her and I would stand for her. And not that I wouldn't defend her in private. That's not how I meant that to sound. But Wendy is somebody I defend because I love and respect her. My wife is somebody I defend in public. You want to get on my bad side really quick out there? Anybody in social media? Start flirting with my wife in not so good ways. I got friends that flirt with Rainey all the time. And I'm fine with it because it all depends on how Rainey takes it. And because I also know they're happily married and they don't mean what they're saying. And they're saying it as a compliment, that sideways compliment from friends. But there are guys that have done. Rainey gets dick pics sometimes, all the time, I should say. Guys constantly sending her stuff.
It's a little hypocritical, sorry to just cut in, but it's like, if you're married or you're with someone, why would you send other women messages?
That's it. Why would you?
Why would you? And then when you actually see them being lovey-dovey about their partners on their page, or on something else or in person in real life, why would you be a hypocrite? Why would you do that? What does that say about you as a person? And what does that say about how you feel about your partner? And you know, and this is why I've watched it a lot. I've counseled it. I've had other friends of mine say it to me, and I say this as a question, not because I've got the answer, but it's like, my question is, why do you do this when you have something that you're supposed to love and show outwardly so much that they mean a lot to you? Because if I had a partner and I found that they were sending messages to other women, I'm sorry, but there's just like, the trust is broken.
Yes. Now, maybe there are guys who are in broken relationships and they do that. Well, you know what? Then they probably need to be out of those broken relationships.
Yeah.
Rather than acting deceitfully behind somebody's back.
And so many people tell so many porky pies as well. Like, my wife and I are in an open relationship, or they're happy about us doing it.
For every time you hear that, there are 20 angels lose their wings.
Like, we've not heard that one before, right? You know.
Yeah. Oh, that's a new one. You're in an open relationship, right? There was something else I was going to add here.
I like Kat's comment that she's just put down there. That is hilarious.
Let's see. I got to put it up on the big screen. Deletes the unsolicited boob photo she was about to send to Rainey.
That's a good one.
Who, you, Kat, or Wendy? So
Rainey's seen my boobs. I mean, let's be honest. Like, we've talked about anything so much.
There
I mean, like, we're both women. We don't show our boobs to each other, but it's like we have cleavages.
And I'm just happy to be there.
And there's nothing wrong with showing your cleavage. This is not about being a woman. This is not about, like, you know, we're not allowed to have our cleavages or show or wear miniskirts or anything like that. It's about the fact that on social media, a lot of people are being very indecent and getting away with it because they're called, what do they call it? Keyboard cowards.
Yeah. So, you know, I will say this. I can't remember. There was something I wanted to say about Rainey and how she deals with this stuff when it happens to me. She goes, I don't care who sends you what. It's your business. She said, unless you're planning on doing something, you know, then I would. That's not what I wanted to say. There was something about the way it's kind of coming back to me. The way guys say things, even if they're in bad relationships, whatever it might be, whatever their excuse is for saying something to a woman the way they do in private, we kind of started off talking about that in today's show. And now as we're getting toward the end of the broadcast show, come back to that again and say, why do guys do that? Because do they think it's going to win them affection? Because guys, they aren't out for affection. I started to talk about that example that men are puddles and women are streams.
They're not going to leave their wives for it, are they? They're not going to give up.
Yeah, are you going to leave your wife for me? You know, the woman should say.
Be quiet because, you know.
Thank you for the dick pic. Are you leaving your wife for me now?
Yeah.
Can we make it public? And you know, Rainey gets dick pics, by the way, and she'll post them. She'll post them on her Facebook and kind of blot out the penis itself and say, "Look what this guy," and she names.
Remember the old days that people used to get flashed? They used to have flashes.
Yeah.
They'd put the coat and they'd flash.
You don't need to go outside and get cold to do that anymore. Now you can just do it on the internet.
My nan had a perfect comment for it, and she was like, hang on a minute, let me just get my magnifying glass. I can't see it properly.
There it is.
And she would just, and they'd go, and they wouldn't expect that. But yet again, I just think, oh my God, like that would have been quite a comment to say to someone with their manhood out in the open.
That's right. And I just want you to know I'm not wearing any pants. So when the show's over, I'm just going to stand up and I'll flash you and we'll see how it goes over. So, and yeah, you were right, by the way, when we say that guys always talk about their junk. Like I do the same thing. I don't have to let anybody know any measurements or anything, but but I can say, hey, you know, hung like a newborn babe, 12 pounds and 21 inches or whatever it is. That's a big baby. But, joking around about something in the right crowd at the right time is one thing.
Yeah.
They call me the Streak, says Rapid Dog. Oh, why is that, Rapid Dog?
It's interesting to see the comments that we've had tonight, because some of them are actually joking about this whole subject. And actually, and it is, I see there's a funny side to it, because
yeah.
But actually, there is also a serious side to it. So as well as people joking about it, some of this stuff is absolutely upsetting some people.
That's right.
They need to take that on board.
And
a lot of the comments that we're getting, and everyone each to their own. And I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. Sure. But it's like a lot of it is not taking that. Some people find this quite intimidating, and it can be quite. It takes away your confidence, some of it, because you're like, oh my god. It
does. And by the way, for those of you on the radio audience, we've already gone over time. If you're still there, if we're live long and prosper, we're sticking around here in the chat room for a bit over on the YouTube channel. So if you want to come over to the YouTube channel and catch it live, you can do that at youtube.com/Scotty Roberts, because we still have not put up our own Robertson YouTube page.
We will.
And it's not that we can't do it. We're just busy doing other things. It's one of those things. It just hasn't gotten done yet. So Kat says, when I worked as a dancer, I dealt with so much stupidity. I can only imagine when a guy sees you naked and you're dancing on stage, they feel free to say things. She says, you have to joke about it or you lose your mind. Uh-huh. I can only imagine, or I couldn't imagine. I dated a woman once before I met Rainey. Obviously, it wasn't after I met Rainey, but a woman I dated for 4 years, and she stripped at a club in Minneapolis, Rick's Cafe, I think it was called Rick's Cabaret or something like that. And she was very worried to tell me about that, but she would always come in to my house at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And she was like, just all her makeup to the nines. And the thought went through my head, but I didn't ask her. And she finally told me she took me to the racetrack, the horse track, and asked me what I thought about, if a woman stripped and so on. I said, well, it's up to her.
2 points that I also wanted to bring up as well is like, nobody knows what someone else goes through.
Right.
Val and I, and use Val because obviously she was on our show last week. We were in abusive relationships. We came from an abusive situation where, we've been rated and put down and some terrible things said. Sometimes when guys say it, they don't know what the woman's come out. Same as a guy. They don't know, right? They don't know what's been said. So sometimes it's better to just be a little bit on the cautious side, because you don't know what someone's been through and how they're going to react to that as well. And the other thing as well is like, sense of humor is great, but laugh with someone, not at them, because I find sometimes people go too far with comments and jokes, etc. And it isn't funny.
No, it's not.
It's funny, and it's like, laugh with them, not at them or at their expense. And that's something else that I really have felt quite strongly about in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. And that's one of these points you just made. That's a very big point, is we don't know what somebody else has been through or how they act. Maybe if somebody even acts like they are out there sexually, or they're out there and can joke around about it, that could be a compensation for trying to overcome stuff that's going on inside. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that put on fronts because that's how they deal with what they can't deal with inside. And so I think I would encourage men, and I have to encourage myself to do this too. I've always been this way to a certain extent, but I always have to look at how I act. And I encourage all the guys listening to look at how you act, look how you treat other people. If you are known to be a decent person, maintain that decency in private. Like I used to say many years ago when I was youth director and stuff like that, I would say to the kids, that living your life, a life of being a decent person or a servant to other people, it doesn't matter what people see. What really matters is where people don't see. You're doing the work and doing your actions where people don't see, and you uphold that. And I think that's the. Oh, sorry, Val. I didn't mean to leave this just sitting up
If
there.
you put up the other quote that Val's just put up, is a very good quote. I
one
love
that takes
Val.
years.
She's so, well, her and I are so on the same page as each other, but it's like literally when you come out of that situation with a guy who's been a certain way to you, it does take years to get your confidence back. And you don't know, like, what I don't know what Val's been through 100%, what she went through. She doesn't know 100% what I've been through, what's been said to me, what's been done. I just think what I'm saying is it's not about being politically correct. It's not about like having to watch what you say. It's about just giving a bit of thought. Like it's okay to go so
Think
far.
about what you're saying.
Have the line to cross, right?
Yep.
And also we think as well, bullying on social media, and I'm not talking about kids, I'm talking about from a sexual way. Some women can feel so intimidated. I'm not talking about me, but some women can feel so intimidated. They're like, oh my God, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to cope with it. They get, it's like you've got to be careful with this stuff. And that's why when we started Robertson, I was like, we want to tackle issues that are meaty and not afraid to actually say that, right?
Right. I agree. I see Sterling. I think we're at a good point in the show where we can bring a caller in. Since we're off the air and we can do this now in the chat room. Hey, Sterling, how you doing?
Hey, what's up? How are y'all?
Hey.
Doing all right, man. How's Cartagena today?
Oh, yeah, it's great. I love South America. The people are nice. The weather's great. Food's good. Everything's cheap. I love it down here. Working on my tan every day. Yeah. But, I just had to point out the irony in this because, I know you're talking about, indecent proposals and taking it too far. And it's just that after like one or two appearances on here, Wendy searched for me and found me on the internet and added me. And then, and then she told me that she couldn't stop looking at my photos. And I was like, wow. I was like, no, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
I figured you were. I thought, okay, he's going to break the punchline here somewhere.
Yeah, no, that's none of that stuff.
Yeah. And it's meeting somebody in a situation like this, nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to somebody, nothing wrong with, but as I'm sure you probably are, Sterling, the little I know you, I know you, but I don't know you. I would think that you would be a gentleman. And
no, I was graciously and very gentlemanly sent her the dick pics, and I was like, "These are the dick." And I said,
with all due respect,
had a very brief conversation in our time of actually being Facebook friends, and I always thought that when you came on the show, your points were very to the point. Pretty much point. You and I haven't really spoken or got to know each other, and it's like when you meet someone on Facebook and you add them as a friend, you could be interested in them as a friend. It doesn't mean that I'm interested or you're interested in getting in going down a different road.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. And so that's why when you sent me the dick pics, I was so confused and felt violated.
I was so confused.
Whose dicks are these? No, I'm kidding.
There it is.
No, but I don't know. I think men should just always err on the side of caution. Always err on the side of caution. And if a girl's turning down your advances, then you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? Like you probably shouldn't have tried that one. It wasn't ready. if you lean in for a kiss and she gives you the cheek, then you're just doing a lot of things wrong to get to that point.
That's right. And
I wouldn't know. It's never happened to me, obviously. I mean, but I'm just theorizing here.
And if a woman asks you a picture of your puppy dog, she does mean a canine. So don't go the other place. So I think it's always a thing of respect. Being a gentleman, being respectful. Kat just said in the chat room, she said, I just dealt with this with my former coworker. We joked a lot on the phone until he completely crossed the line one day. He had no idea my husband was home and could hear everything. Boom.
Scary.
And that's it.
But I mean, even if the husband wasn't at home, even if she wasn't married, there's still a lot of problems with that.
Sure. But Sterling, there is also, and Wendy, there is this thing of nothing ventured, nothing gained. There's no law against, or even a law of decency against saying to somebody, I'm really attracted to you. I'd love to go out. I'd love to take you out for dinner.
Absolutely.
Are you available? I'd like to talk more. I'd like to get you to know you. But when you exceed the limits of that initially, that's, I think, where guys step out of line. It's just, so there it is. Hey, Unleashed Jeremy Hansen is here. I think I saw your wife here too, Jeremy. Maya, there she is. Good to see you guys. So she said, Kat said, shocked me so much I dropped a tub of cottage cheese on the kitchen floor. There it is.
That is tragic.
That's tragic.
That is tragic.
At the price of cottage cheese nowadays.
Yeah.
So I think that nothing wrong with venturing, asking the questions and stuff like that. I don't think anybody here is.
How do you get not to meet people? I mean, if you like the look of someone, absolutely friend them and talk to them and chat with them. But as Sterling quite rightly says, if you cross their line, you're not going to get anywhere with them because they're going to go.
That's it.
Right? Really?
That's it.
I don't know about you, Sterling, but how would you feel like if you were chatting to a girl and then she was come across certain things and said certain things to you? How would you deal with that if you really liked her?
I'd put a ring on it right then and there.
It is.
I'd be like, finally, like this is the one for me, right?
Yeah.
And but no, I've found that generally, and this is an overgeneralization and maybe even a stereotype, I don't know, but in my experience, I've found that the women here, the Latin women and the Colombian women, are much more direct and much more aggressive for whatever the reason is. I just feel like it's men are almost even preyed upon. It's kind of a weird feeling,
really,
coming from men are like.
Well, see, you always think of the Latin American culture stereotypically as being the machismo male, the wife that's or the woman is less that way. That's the way you always picture it, stereotypically speaking. And so you're saying it's not like that so much?
Well, maybe I chose my words wrong, but I'm just saying that like it feels good to be sought after, whereas I feel like in the States, like we're always seeking the woman and we're doing the putting yourself out there, all the footwork most of the time, or we're expected to, and that's not the case here. A girl will come over,
and I'm okay with that.
Proposition you in this country.
I'm okay with that, but I got to tell you, I lacked so much confidence when I was younger. With the opposite sex, I was like, I need a sign. Give me a sign that you want me to keep pursuing you. Throw us a bone here. No pun intended.
Sometimes guys are actually scared to actually, as you say, because be open and tell them that they're interested in them and they want them, because they're scared that it will go the other way, that the women are saying, oh my God, you're coming on too strong and you're going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Rejection. By the way, what's up, Grumpy?
Grumpy, how you doing?
How you doing?
But I will say this, Wendy, a woman like you 30 years ago would have scared the shit out of me. I wouldn't have approached you. I wouldn't have talked to you. I might have said, hi, You know, and that's about it, because I didn't have the confidence. You know what I didn't like? I didn't like rejection.
Yes.
So I've been
Yeah,
rejected enough
absolutely.
that I was like, okay, I've learned my lesson.
I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of problems that guys have is, um, like you didn't have a lot of confidence when you were growing up.
Sure.
And when a woman gives somebody attention, they take it to the extreme.
Yep.
I could be
She
friends with
smiled at me. She must want me in her bed.
exactly, and
Yep.
it's like, okay, I'm a happily married man. I friend women, I friend men. And some people are like, well, your wife doesn't get jealous that you friend women, beautiful women. No, she doesn't. She
Yep.
doesn't get, because I'm not in it to get anything out of that. I'm not. I didn't friend Wendy because I wanted. Oh, Wendy's hot. Let me talk to her. Maybe she'll give me a time of day. No, that's not
Sure.
what I'm in it for.
That's what I
But
did.
a lot of men take it that way, and there's also a lot of women that'll take it that way as well.
Sure.
But as a non-confidence guy growing up, and you have confidence now, um, you get
Oh, me?
friended or whatever, and they take it to the extreme.
Sure. That's still, I get good looking women that will friend me on Facebook or on Instagram or wherever. And it's always in the back of your head. You go, oh, why does a good looking woman want to be my friend? Oh, maybe she's drawn to your book or your radio show or something like that, or your art. And
It's an interesting comment you said though, Scotty, because it is said to me that a lot of men do find me quite intimidating. And I think
sure.
what happened to me is that when I came out of the violent relationship,
Mhm.
when I'd been abused for 4.5 years, and it was something changed in me and I became a different woman. And I think that there is a toughness now in me that never used to be there. And so
Yeah.
now I probably do come across very sort of like, really, you're going there, are you?
Sure.
And because the Wendy before that was incredibly different. It was very, very different. And and I think as you get older, age as well is very good for experience and wisdom, and
Yeah.
and humor covers up a lot as well. And I would say, like, Sterling, you'd be quite honoured if I sent you those photographs going, hey, I can't stop looking at your pictures, because, I'm not that kind of woman. I really am not. But I will say to the point, if I like someone or not, I will say to him, yeah, I really like you. It'd be great to get to know you. But I think that you're right.
And by the way, if you sent those pictures and my wife saw them, like I say, she already knows you really well. She already knows how I feel about you. She already knows that we're friends for 20 years. So my wife, if she knew that, and she knew you were sending me pictures like that, and I was sending you those, she'd go, well, you know what? You guys are now free to go find out what you want. See ya.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That would be
that's
her
cheating. Yeah,
reaction.
that's
Go
cheating
for it.
for sure. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. But I feel like men and maybe even women too. I feel like as humans, we should put ourselves in that vulnerable situation where we get rejected, because I
Yeah.
just see that so many times.
sure.
Like I have friends who they've only been in one relationship. They've only been with one or two girls, and I'm not knocking that, but they definitely I feel like could benefit from going out there and getting their feelings hurt a few times. And what I did was stand up comedy. It's so great for getting rejected, and
Sure.
it starts to hurt a little bit less every time you go out there and bomb. It hurts a little bit less to where you don't care, and that turns into a confidence. Um,
Yeah.
but you have to seek it, and you have to practice it, because
And
it, yeah.
Well, 2
Sterling,
divorces and several women in between those. I got all my confidence I needed, all my boosts. So,
Sterling, with as far as the rejections you get as a stand-up comedian, I'm now a health coach, and I get rejected all the time. you know, so it's something that you got to build and know when to stop pushing when it goes too far.
Yeah, and then just
that
keep
makes
pushing.
sense.
That's what I do. When it goes too far, just keep going. Just keep going.
But, women are just as guilty as doing that. Like, the women are just as guilty of not perhaps reading always, seeing everything, and perhaps going down that road. And that's something I want to say. It's very much equal, equal things here as well. It's not just men, it's women too. And sometimes we just need to understand each other a bit more, right? We really do. And it's also, and dare I use this word, because it's how you're kind of, I suppose, when you're conditioned when you're younger, like if your parents said to you, this is how you talk to a woman, this is how you talk to a guy, or this is, because as I said, men used to be so protective over women, and women need to be protective over guys too, right? It works both ways. It's not just a one-way street. And if you see a guy being bullied, or he's being put in a position or manipulated, like you see for a woman going through it, stick up for him, right? And just say, hang on a minute, you're going a little bit, because otherwise, some of the ladies I spoke to, they do feel quite intimidated and quite scared.
Sure.
And I've been talking to women from different ages upward. It's not just my age; it's younger as well. And it's like, well, if we say this or we do that, they're going to think that. And it's like, so in a way, we're conditioned. And it's quite interesting to see some of the comments. As I said, a lot of people have taken this on as humor, and I get it. I can see why it's funny.
Yes.
Same time.
Well, some of it, you sometimes you have to make humor out of it.
Absolutely.
To talk about it, because otherwise we'd be sullen and we'd be talking, with dark faces. But and I don't think that's necessary. I think we've made some serious points. By the way, Jeremy,
gentlemen here tonight. There's no ladies joining us.
Yeah, I haven't seen any women call in. Kat, you should call in. Valerie, you should call in. Sandra, you should call in. So, Field Guy, how you doing?
Good. Just got home.
All right. So what's going on? What do you think?
Let's see. What's the title? Let's see.
Oh. I thought you were calling because you were contributing something.
I gotta see what the title. Indecent Proposal.
Yeah, you got something.
Like the movie?
Or the song.
Kind of like, or the song. It's,
yeah.
No, it's about how.
What movie was that with Robert Redford and
Demi Moore and
Demi Moore? Yeah. Y'all talking about sort of like that?
No.
Field Guy's Indecent Proposal is saying hi to anybody.
Yes.
Oh, we're basically
broadcasting.
We're basically asking, like, at what point do you send the dick pic? Basically, you know what I mean? Like,
never.
What I was saying, Phil, guys, since I've been doing Robertson, I've made lots of lovely new friends, and some of them are fantastic. But there have been comments from certain people that have been to a point of being, that ain't funny, it isn't polite, and it isn't gentlemanly. And I won't actually bring it up on air or what was said and done, but it's like, when does a guy think it's okay to write something that is quite crude and lewd to someone they don't know, especially when they're married or they have a partner of their own? What gives them the point to actually say and get away with that, especially when you see them being all lovey-dovey to their own partner, but secretly behind the keyboard they're sending messages.
They're sending dick pics there.
So Wendy, the Scotland comments are too far.
The Scotland comment?
It went too far.
So wait, is that why Scotty's all dressed up today in a slick outfit?
I already told everybody why I'm dressed up today.
I didn't hear that, so I don't know.
I'll tell you, because I love and respect Wendy. And
that's a good enough reason for me.
Long time. And I dressed up today because I wanted to dress up for her to do this show. And she said red, and I said, okay, I'm wearing red today. There it is, right there.
Y'all look good.
Saying, Phil Guy, obviously you missed this point. When you get married men saying stuff to you, right? Because
like what? Stuff like what?
What they want to do to you, what you do to them.
Crass, crude one-liners about.
They have a partner. that is going a bit too far.
I'd like to bend you over and shag you in the kitchen right now.
Is that what he said? Is that what he said, Wendy? Was that a direct quote?
What makes between Scotty and me?
That sounds like
never
a southern
tell what's
quote
between
there.
her and I.
I'm just saying that sounds like somebody from the South. They would say that.
No, this would be someone from the UK, and it would also be other people from around the world. I'm not, it's not just one set country. It's like because and I listen. I'm big enough and ugly enough to hold my own, and I can do the innuendos and all that kind of stuff. But I always think that you should. When did guys stop being protective of women? Because how would you feel if you had a daughter or a sister and some guy was sending that kind of messages to them, and you're like, and your sister was kind of like, where did I give you the green light to send me something like that?
You know what I would tell her? I have 4 sisters. What I would tell her is drag that fool, expose him, put the receipts out there, and you and not just you, Wendy, but yes, it doesn't, from what I heard, maybe apply to you, but to my sister, you are the one that is going to let him get away with this. If he gets away with this, it's on you.
Do it to someone else.
It's not your fault it happened, but you have the choice to expose this clown. And like, it's up to you whether he gets away with it or not. And I think you should air it. I think you should air it. If it offended you, if it was wrong, and how could other men learn from it if we don't even know what was said exactly, if we don't see it and we don't know the person and they're never exposed? Sunlight's the best disinfectant. That's what my mama said.
Hey, can I add this? 90% of the dick pics that are sent are probably not their own dicks.
Probably not their own.
Very true. Very.
Well, it's a Google pic.
They're mine. They're mine. And it has to stop. People have to stop using my image.
Are they like hijacking your photographs?
I actually looked up dick pics on Google today, only because I was trying to get a good photo for the graphic of a guy. I wanted a comic-looking picture of a guy holding his pants out and shooting a picture with his cell phone. So I'm looking for that, and I got all kinds of dick pics. It's like, oh man,
you gotta be.
I was going to send somebody a dick pic there. That's the one I'd choose.
Yeah, that's shocking.
Like, let's see. How can I offend YouTube the most? Let's see. I'll pick that one.
Scotty, do not put funny dick pics. They might have a picture of yours.
You didn't share that, did you?
I have never understood the concept of guys sending that to women, because women don't want to see that in the first place. They don't. It's a turnoff. They don't want to see any of that stuff.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about the size of it, the shape of it, what you can do to us and how it's going to last. If we're in a relationship with you and it's between the two of us and we're in a relationship with you, it's a very different concept.
That's a very different thing.
Because what goes on between us goes on between us, right? If you know someone really well and you have that very trusted relationship with them, it's a different matter. Mark and I joke really. I've known Mark almost as long as I've known Scotty, and we fuck fuck this, fuck that, in innuendo. We come out with it, but he's always protective of me. He's always got my back, and he's always like, if he sees someone write a comment which is like particularly too far, he'll go, really, and that's what I love. Hello, Daryl. How are you, honey? Hi, Colleen. And I also think the same as well. Like, I came out of an abusive relationship. Val had an abusive relationship. Some of these comments can make you feel slightly, it takes you somewhere. And the guys may not always know this, right? They may not always know what we're from, but it's like, where do you get off sending comments to women or saying comments to women? It's not just always on the keypad. Sometimes they're doing it into your face, and you're kind of like, I'll joke it off with humor, or I'll joke it off with this, right?
Right.
So I think, that was the whole point that we wanted to say for guys and women. There is a line that you should not cross, and you should protect each other, for sure.
You should protect them. I protect the people I love, and I stand up for them. And that's not going to change. Valerie, by the way, you asked where my kitchen is, but you put kitchen in quotes. So I'm thinking, what's a kitchen for a guy?
Sandra, I'm really sorry to hear that.
He's referring to your comment a few minutes ago.
What did I say about the kitchen?
About show me where your kitchen is, bend over and
Oh.
That's what she was referring to.
Okay. Now I got it. Click.
He didn't mean. He didn't mean the part about the kitchen. He was just the bend over part is what he was. He forgot all about
It's just fictional.
Yeah, see?
Kitchen.
See,
room,
told you.
Yeah. So,
but Wendy, how come you don't? No, hold on one second. Like Wendy, why don't you air this person out? Like I'm like, for some reason my brain's like fascinated on it. Like I'm stuck on it for some reason. Like because it would never happen to me. Like with men, this is so foreign. You know what I mean? This is because if it happened to me, I'd be like, yes. But it happened to you, and you're the victim of it. Why not air it out? I'm curious.
I mean, it was something I thought about long and hard about doing, for sure, like, to put it out there. But given the situation of certain other reasons, as in the relationship that this person apparently is in, I decided not to. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't do it again if it was to happen. But I'm hoping that lesson learned, it will be stopped. But also as well, sometimes as well, it's not the easiest thing to do. I mean, as Kat's put up here as well, she was with an abusive guy. She hasn't seen him in 20 years. She's celebrated with him. Sometimes there can be repercussions that are not always the best repercussions of going through something like that.
is this a message for you, Daryl Jones? Hello,
that's my mate. That's my mate. Hello.
Okay.
That's my mate, yeah.
I thought it sounded like a message for you. So.
Yeah, it's my mate. Yeah.
Let's see. Unleashed Jeremy Hansen says, I have zero respect or tolerance for home wreckers, men or women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and Wendy, you come at it at an angle where women are abused in like type of relationships, but what's not talked about is abuse on men in relationships.
Okay, spot on.
And
we talked about that last week.
And there is a statistic down in the South. 70% of the domestic violence that happens down here is women against men. But the men, they won't say anything about it because it's more of a, okay, the men are supposed to be the more dominant sex.
Sure.
But yet they're getting abused. It's sometimes it's physical, a lot of times it's verbal, but it's a huge factor in here too.
And last week we covered
betas,
and it did kind of come up, but actually that's something I'd love to go in and look and do more about, because I do know men who have come out of physically abusive relationships, and that's a topic that I'm absolutely would love to, and I'd love for you and other gentlemen that have been in that situation to come on and join us, because I think the more guys stick together and show the support for each other, the better it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that 70% in the South. That's awful.
Well, also in the South, as someone from South Carolina, we also say that 95% of statistics are made up on the spot too. That's another statistic that we have down there. So,
I heard 78% of statistics are made
That's a
up.
South Carolina stat. Louisiana is a different place.
100% of statistics are made up.
Yeah, I can make one up right now if I thought about it.
Yeah.
I like how they do a survey about something, and 10 years later they do another survey that counteracts the first survey. It's like,
sure.
Okay. And then they get paid, like they have a survey. It's like, we did a $50 billion survey on this. I'm like, okay. I want to do a survey. I need somebody to pay me some money.
I think it's a very good point, though, that you shouldn't feel like you have to change being a person just because people are making comments about you. Why should you have to change how you look and how you come across and how you dress?
Shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to change how you are because someone else is sending that stuff. But what it can do, it can make you feel very, like this, it just makes you feel very awkward. Like you're asking for it, like, well, you're putting it out there, like, really? Really? Is that what we're saying? Someone in a miniskirt walking down the road is asking to get raped. So, and the same is about a guy. If a guy, Scotty showed his chest scar that he had from his operation, and he pulled it, and he got, he got some abuse back from that, some sort of like some comments that were made about it, and I'm like, and I find that quite upsetting because I'm like, you should be supporting each other, not degrading or putting each other down from it. And I just don't understand why we do that.
And it's not like I stripped naked and did a rodeo dance. I just pulled my shirt open and I said, "There's
But
my
why not? But
You
why
would have been
not?
better just doing
why
that.
not?
Yeah, why not? That's
Yeah,
what the
well,
audience wants.
I can do
really.
the cowboy dance. You know, I have to
If-
get up to
if-
do it though.
Not too
If
late.
someone's
Not
going to have
too
those
late.
graphic comments over there, why not? But I mean, a lot of times they got these keyboard warriors. Like you can say anything online. You can say anything online. Are they going to say the same thing face to face? No, because they know they could not get away with it.
They
So it's
won't.
kind of too, but that doesn't excuse anybody's behavior when they do that. You
But
have to know
also-
somebody's limits. You have to know the person. Even if you talk to them online, you still got to be, because you may think something is funny. They may think, oh, that's not funny at all. That's,
Sure,
two different takes.
But to be fair, if you were in person, there's really no need to ask for dick pics. You know what I mean? Because you're right there. You don't need to show a pic. You just, so yes, people would ask for dick pics over the keyboard, but is there really any need to do that in person?
Not
See,
really.
and
But I
The thing
see your
about it
point
is-
though.
People get catfished all the time. You think you're talking to some hot lady. Guess what? You're probably talking to a dude trolling you. You don't know if that person's for real. They send you pictures. Do you know it's them? No. You can talk to someone on the phone. Do you know it's them? No.
Nope.
I mean, it happens.
That's why I always hate when you have to have like these girls who want to have the first date before the first date. You know what I mean? Like where they want to ask you all these questions. I feel like they're first date questions, but like let's go sit at the table and sit across from each other and look at each other and ask these questions. Like like otherwise it's just talk. Like you said, it's just keyboard warriors, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah. Captain.
Yeah, you can get. Apparently, people think you can get away with anything because I'm 1,000 miles away or whatever it is, 800, whatever it is. They're not in the same city that they know of, and you don't know who you're talking to half the time online. But that doesn't excuse any behavior whatsoever. Text, emails, whatever.
The other thing is how we talk to each other. It's like, I was just saying, using as an example, when I drive the Impala, I get the comment of, is that your dad's? Is that your car? Is that your ex-boyfriend's? Actually, someone actually wrote to me and said, is that your ex-boyfriend's car? And I was like, I find that kind of insulting. Because I'm like, what makes you think a woman like me couldn't drive that sort of car? Like,
Right.
Where does that whole...
Hey, little lady, how'd you fit behind that wheel? You can't drive that thing. That thing will take you all over the place.
Why would an ex-boyfriend give a woman a car in the first place? If he did give a woman a car, he tried to get it back.
Exactly, right?
That doesn't make any sense.
What he is that he thought it was a photograph of me in front of my ex-boyfriend's car. And I said, what makes you think it's not my car? Because you couldn't possibly have a car like that. That's a guy car. And I'm like, well, hello, I've got one.
Obviously not.
You got
women like cars. There are women out there that like cars just as much as guys. They got the this coast thing that happens out here where they do all the old cars. I see just as much women out there than men.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just.
And
like,
they know nothing about the cars because women know nothing about cars.
Oh. No, you're on your own. You're on your own on this.
Jeremy says in today's hookup culture, it's different than our generations were. Now, I'm a lot older than Jeremy, but my generation was definitely different. We didn't have computers, number one. Well, we did, but they filled whole rooms and only corporations had them. We didn't have cell phones. We barely had color television.
See, me and Jeremy are about the same age, and I know what he's talking about. When we were dating or doing other stuff, the internet was very, very new. So we had to have actual interaction with these people. And like you had to you had to send like the dinosaur out with a concrete scroll to meet women. But now it's just I could be catfishing an 18-year-old dude, just to do it.
Sure.
You never know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or talking to.
Yeah.
That's very true. Always careful. Well, what do you think, Wendy?
I think it's been a fabulous show, and I want to thank you boys for coming on and joining us and having your comments, because it just, it's really nice you guys watch us and want to be a part, because, it helps get the message out. Scotty I'm
going to watch the replay after this. What I missed, I'm going to go back and watch it later on. Because I always catch the very end.
But showing up lately too. It's good to see you again, man.
Hey, it's good to be seen. I got some free time, and it's good to be here. And I'll catch up with you guys next time. And Wendy, I'll send you some messages later that that we can't talk about on this. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. See you guys. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
All right. See you, Sterling.
Hi, Sterling.
All right, Grumpy. Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you. I'll talk to you this weekend.
I'll talk to you soon.
Doug, I'll see you later.
See you Friday. And see you, Field Guy.
See you, Wendy, Scotty. Thank you for a good show.
Come on, Emmy. All right. And Wendy, it's just you and me now.
Just me and you now, kiddo.
And
it's so nice, to have the guys come on and come on.
It is,
because even when they're joking and winding up, they're still coming in and being part of the show.
Yes,
and it just means that it's affected them enough to want to come on and say something, and that's
I appreciate
really
that.
About. And obviously, I've been sending secret messages to Sterling. Obviously.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you.
Come on, I'm like, really?
Yeah. He had you there for a second. You thought,
just a minute, I'm just thinking, that really?
Or did you go, did I do that? And I just forgot.
I know I didn't say. I knew I didn't do that. I was like, goodness me, you got me.
Yes.
Spanking for that. But
yes.
The difference is having a sense of humor is really good, and having a laugh and a banter. Just know that to know when to stop it. Right.
That's it. Know when to stop. I have to remind myself that a lot, because I take the comedy and I run with it.
And but
never to offend anybody.
And I really appreciate that you came on looking like that, because KB comes onto his show. He looks good, right? He makes an effort, and it's appreciated. I don't want to turn into a show and see some guy looking like he's just come out of a field.
One thing I don't usually ever do, especially on this show, is come on like a t-shirt, and I'm not downing those things. I mean, I just I want to present myself a little differently, and a nice shirt or a nice sweater. And it's been winter. I've been wearing the same drab black sweater all winter long. I put a different shirt on underneath it, but
KB always makes an effort, and I think, and you look amazing tonight, and thank you for doing that.
Thank you, my dear.
I appreciate that. And it's the same with KB. He looks great. Every time he goes on his show, he looks, his whole presentation is he looks great. And I think that makes you feel it's good. And I just answer Colleen, how is my toothache? It's awful. And yet they can't find what's wrong. It's driving me crazy. But yeah.
It's too bad.
I'm just
sorry.
trying to read this couple of messages that I might have missed.
There's a few in here.
My favorite saying is trolls is, don't let that puppy dog mouth overload that puppy dog ass. Interesting.
What about overloading the puppy dog?
Daniel Ondra, can you see his comment?
There it is. My favorite saying is to trolls is, don't let that puppy dog mouth overload that puppy dog ass. There it is.
Yeah.
I get it.
And thank you so much to everyone that joins us and watches us. It means a lot. And we wanted to tackle gritty subjects like this, and because otherwise there's only so much paranormal you can talk. There's only so much history you can talk. At the end,
we've only done one paranormal show.
No, I've had so many people say to me, "When are you going to talk about the?"
And this is show number 18. So we've been going for, other than the one show that you missed when you were sick. I think you missed it. Why is my mind playing tricks on me on that? But we've been going 18 weeks with this show.
Oh, I was there. I just didn't talk much.
So that's it.
But it's true. No, Ken, I don't need glasses. You look absolutely fab. But also, I think as well, we wanted to tackle, you tackle quite a lot of subjects on
I try.
And you do Ghost Friday as well, like, you know.
Ghost Fridays, which is tomorrow night. No. 2 nights from now.
With Paranormal, Ken does stuff.
Now.
I think you and I felt we wanted to be, this show is going to be a little bit different, where we actually don't know what they're going to talk about until the day, you know?
I know. Well, that's the way I've always done my shows. Unless I'm doing a series where I'm following something through for a week, show after show after show, I generally have no idea what I want to talk about. Sometimes I have an idea and I go, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow night. Many times, though, it's through the course of the day, I'm like, okay, what do I want to talk about? Like last night, when I was talking to you, it was 2 a.m. there, so it was like almost 9 here, so it was a little earlier than that, but I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about. And I have so many topics in my head of things that I think are important things to talk about, or even comic things to talk about. But sometimes I got to stop and think about it. So with you, I want to make sure that we talk about things that you address well and that are meaningful to you. I know you're into the paranormal and all of that, but I think that there are more important things. The paranormal will come up again with us when we feel it's the right time.
I mean, Mark has done so much on the paranormal. He says to me, like, you know, I've done so much on the paranormal. I want to do about something else. And that's why, you know, I think it was important. And there are so many things about Britain that I haven't brought up about in the show. And we have talked about bringing up some of Britain's gory bits and pieces. Which, and as I said, I didn't want to I don't like to sort of tell them until the day of it, because otherwise, you know, it takes away the mystique.
Yes. And I think that's all I got.
Yeah. You look amazing. I love the tie, love the shirt, love it. Looks great.
Thank you. And if I was to deliver entendres and stuff like that, I'd have all kinds of things to follow that up with, but I can't now tonight. So there it is. And, you know, just things. Now, agree with me on something. There are things that enter your mind and you say, this is a cool thing to say as a follow-up to that, but do I say that to this person? Would I offend that person? Would I hurt that person's feelings? Would that person jump all over it? And so these are we have to use discretion when we want to talk to somebody and say things certain ways to people. And this is why I encourage the gentlemen here to be gentlemen.
Absolutely.
And to think about how you say things.
They are a dying breed, and we love them. Don't get me wrong. A woman will take a gentleman pretty much over 90% over another guy, because even if you're naughty with that gentleman in your dating him in your private life, you still want him outwardly to be the gentleman. That has not changed. That's right.
And you said the magic word. So, whether you realize you did or not. Well, and by the way, Wendy, you look.
I said I was going to say it tonight, didn't I?
Yeah, yes. You look absolutely stunning tonight.
Thank you.
And as always, you're always classy. Classy's a bad way. That's almost like saying, yeah, she's a classy dame. You know, I don't mean it that way. You've got a lot of class.
Thank you.
And you dress well and you look good. You always look good. I'm only imagining right now that you probably smell good too, because you're a woman.
Well, we try.
Focus on those things.
I do smell good, but that's down to some fantastic perfume. But you know what? Underneath I always say, like, the top half of me is looking great, but the other underneath is the pajamas.
She's got fuzzy slippers on, and
because of the time difference, right?
I almost wore my kilt tonight with this.
Really?
So I could stand up at the end and go, if you want my body and you think I'm sexy, come on, baby, let me know. Oh, that's from, So I Married an Axe Murderer. His Scottish dad in that.
So Kat's written that she thinks you need to take Rainey out somewhere now because you look amazing. So maybe you should. Maybe you and Rainey go for a drink.
She's gone at her mom's.
Oh,
wow. She had to drive her mom to the airport. They're going on a trip to Vegas or something. Vegas, baby. And So she had to leave earlier because her mom forgot her phone, and she had to bring her mom's phone back and help her determine what the heck's going on. Her mom's not real good with the details on flying, and she's younger than me, so it's not like she's elderly. She just is not into that stuff, and it gets her anxieties worked up. So Randy went to just give her a hand, and Scotty got on red sweatpants, says Rapid Dog. Yeah, you know me too well, Rapid. So it goes with the pocket square.
Ken says he has a scratch and smell screen. Yep, she smells good.
Yes. I am curious. You don't have to tell me over the public airwaves, but what kind of parfum do you use?
Well, I'm a Dior girl, so it would be J'adore or Hypnotic Poison. And then I also go with Yves Saint Laurent. I think it's called Libra. So that's kind of what I smell like. So you can go tomorrow and pick up J'adore and Hypnotic Poison. And
Wendy, I know what you smell like. I know what you smell like now. And so,
and that's another good thing. Like, we do like men that smell good. Like men that smell. When a guy walks past you, this is what most women do. When a guy walks past you and he's wearing a really good cologne, we're like this.
I will tell you, even though you didn't ask, I wear. There's a cologne I wear. It's called 1821.
Oh, okay.
And it's got kind of what they call a red tobacco finish to it. Right. It's a really nice cologne, and so I wear that. So 1821 red tobacco. I've had more compliments on that scent I've been wearing it for probably about 8 to 10 years.
I always say to guys, invest in a really good cologne, even if it's expensive, because you know what, you're buying yourself a lot of good favors. You really are, because the cheap stuff like the whole links thingy and the cheap, it's like, it's great, but a really nice cologne, fantastic.
You get that cologne and then you make it your own. You put in a little bit. It's got to mix with your own body chemistry.
Yeah.
And after a while, that becomes your scent. I've had more women in a non-sexual way, not in a deviant way or any way, but I'll walk in somewhere and they'll go, "Oh man, what are you wearing?" And they'll want to take a sniff, and they always take a sniff right here. And it's like, "Oh, that's nice." I had a stewardess do that to me once. A flight attendant.
Daniel says he wears Davidoff Cool Water. That's a really nice smell.
What is it?
Daniel wears Davidoff.
Oh, Davidoff Cool Water. Cool water.
Very good smell.
It's a good smell.
Cat Tainted. Is that Tainted Love? Is that a perfume? Because I don't know that one.
Which one? Secret Bombshell?
Cat Margot Elena, Tainted Love for Moi.
Oh, there it is. Tainted Love. Margaret Elena.
Victoria's Secret Bombshell. I've not smelled
and she says, I live in the middle of nowhere and have a really big dog and a shotgun.
So Ken is Fahrenheit. I know Fahrenheit. I know the smell. Very strong. Yeah.
There it is. Barbie D uses the Target Special. Kat says it's made in Colorado.
But I think you appreciate the effort. And that's the other thing as well. Like, we do appreciate, if you're going to go on a date with someone, using that as an example, and they just turn up really cash, you're like, what? You don't have to turn up in a full suit or anything, but you're just kind of like, we are on a date, aren't we? You know?
Yeah.
And I think you're right. If they smell good and they look good and they make an effort.
Yeah. I think it's always key for guys, if you're going to go dating or go out on a date or smell good, meaning take a shower. Some guys are like, I don't need to take a shower.
Yeah, just take me as I am.
You know, you might not stink, but the body does give off its own odor after all. You can usually tell when somebody is unwashed. They don't even have to be putrid smelling. They're just unwashed, and you go, you didn't shower today, did you?
And we had that wonderful. Remember, we did that amazing show about when someone doesn't make an effort.
Yes.
And what would be the advice? So it's kind of like full circle. I mean, Phil Guy says he wears a bunch of sweat. Grumpy says he loves his musky smell.
Rapid Dog says bacon, fat, and chicken.
That's a great one. That can smell that instantly.
Put that on, you go walk through the woods, and the bears will eat you. So.
Well, I've learned a lot of things about who's wearing what.
Who said? Ken said Fahrenheit. I wore Fahrenheit back several years ago. 20 years ago, maybe. That always had a good smell to it. It was a sharper smell to it.
Do you remember the 70s? And did you guys have it? Tweed? Did you remember
Yes, I never wore it, but I remember it.
And then the guys' one was like oh my god, it was like Old Spice.
Old Spice. I can't whistle. A woman in every port was supposed to be the thing with Old Spice. And they had to change that up for political.
Absolutely. Wash your ass and wear deodorant. Absolutely.
Wash your ass and use deodorant.
Laughing my ass off. I
like using a good, and I'm that way with Rainey, even around the house. I like to make sure I smell good. And sometimes she's like, what is that? And I'm like,
Mark doesn't wear any cologne.
And scent.
Mark doesn't wear any cologne or deodorant. He is all natural. And I say to him sometimes, it's a really hot day. Really? You just...
Oh.
You don't want to do it. And he's like, but I don't smell. He said, I had a shower this morning. I've used soap.
What I use if I don't want to put on the expensive cologne, I'll use a lotion. There's a Gold Bond or a men's Gold Bond in the gray, coppery gray a thing to make men feel comfortable putting on lotion. Let's do it in men colors. And I put that on. If I have a cigarette, I come in from the house, I wash my hands and my face, and I always put a little bit of that lotion on. So because there have been times where Rainey says, oh, you smell like an ashtray. I said, I just had a halfie.
Yeah, if we don't smoke, you can smell it really strongly. If we smoke, then we don't really care. But it's like Valerie's put down, she loves Old Spice, but Brute, that was the other one. Brute, that was the really
Brute. That's brutally old.
That was the really old.
Brute is goes like that was like high karate when I was a kid in the 70s. High karate, and they had that. Grumpy Stacks talking Sasquatch. I ordered some of that stuff once, and it was really nice. Sasquatch deodorant and soaps, and I think I was just getting the soaps. So that's good stuff. It smells
Rum
good.
and cigarettes, says Rapid Dog.
Rum and cigarettes. There you go. And that's kind of what my 1821 smells like. It's red tobacco.
I have not smelled Old Spice or Brute. What are you wearing? Bond. Gold Bond.
I'll send you a card, Wendy, and I'll spray a little 1821 on it. So you can tell what it smells like.
I really like is one that Johnny Depp advertises, and I think I'm trying to remember its name. And they actually kept him. They actually kept Dior.
Oh, nice.
People that backed up Johnny Depp, right, when he was accused of so many awful things, right? And I'm trying to remember what the name. If anyone knows the name of that,
is it one of those pensive black and white ads?
It's the advert when he's driving the Mustang and he's got the guitar and he just stops and he starts digging a hole, and he's got like Johnny Depp was wearing it, and it's made by Dior. It's amazing. Chanel Blue, that's another one. Chanel Blue is a really good one.
Anita Palmer, Old Spice. I think it went out for a while and then it came back in a big way. You go down just go to Target and walk down the men's toiletries aisle. It's all Old Spice. From the cologne.
Thank you, Kat.
Oh, Splash.
Yes. Sauvage. That's the name of it. Sauvage is divine. It smells like, and Chanel Blue. when a guy walks past, you're like, you just
Sauvage.
want to tell him more.
Sauvage. Is that French for savage?
Yes.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Good on Dior, right? You know, good on Dior that kept Johnny Depp going in that time, because we're coming around to a year round since that court case, but he did really well.
Anita, the Old Spices, you can get the cologne. It's still in the old fashioned bottle, but then they've got all the body soaps, all the body lotions, all the hairstyling gel, shampoos and conditioners, all in the big red bottles, all these different brands of Old Spice smells that they have. They've got like a whole aisle at Target. So
it's a foot powder. What's that? It's a foot powder, Wendy. What am I missing? Sorry.
Old Spice is nice. The Old Spice. I've got one of the things I got when my stepfather died. I got all those pipes. You can see them all there. If my finger can touch it, right there. Those pipes right there. All his animal head pipes that he had when I was like 4 years old. Those are old pipes. And then, but I got his Old Spice, big, thick, heavy China. I don't know what it's made of, China or ceramic. It has to be ceramic mug. And the thing's got to be 60 years old. But it was the mug that came with the little brush for mixing up his shave soap. You know, and then they'd brush it on.
Oh, yeah.
So I've still got the big old mug. It's a low mug, but it's big, heavy duty with the brush in it. Man, and that sits up in my bathroom.
Do guys still use that? Like, do guys still use the whole? Because I don't know many that do that, but it always looks so distinguished. You know, it really does distinguish.
It is. I do it every now and then. No, the other way around. I do it most times, but when I shave, I put on. I like when I have facial hair, I put on a clear shave gel so I can see what I'm cutting. You know, if I'm trimming out the corner of my beard, or when I was trimming off my mustache, now I'm growing it out. I need to know what I'm shaving off.
You know, I have my uncle that died in 2017. He used to use a particular lynx. He loved his lynx, and literally, when we were packing up his home and everything like that, there was a brand new one that he'd bought and I never used, because he used to have like loads of his stuff, and I actually kept it, and I still have it. And occasionally, you know, I will just spray it, and I'll be like, he's still with me. And you know,
the olfactory nerves have the greatest sense of memory retention. So
it's good to know what everyone's wearing. There's like a list here of what people are doing.
Yeah, there's a whole list of things.
I now know what you smell like.
I'll be 2 minutes. Oh, you're going to take her with you right now? Yeah. We're just wrapping up here. Okay. So that's a friend of ours that came to pick up Rowan.
Well, Scotty, as always, it's a Tuesday nights. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
So much a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And I will talk to you a little later. And everyone else, I want to thank you for being here. Thanks for spending your time, giving us your time, giving us your scents, your fragrances. And now we know what you all smell like. So that's unique in radio, huh? So thank you for being here, Wendy. I will talk to you soon. And everybody else, live long and prosper.